Welcome back. This is lesson number 4 out of the Alfred's Adult Beginner Book. We are on page 20 and 21 today. This is called the Grandstaff, and this is how we read music for piano. If you look at the top of the page, you'll notice that it is right hand C position that we learned in lesson 2 and left hand C position that we learned in lesson 3 put together. It's using the treble clef for the right hand, the bass clef for the left hand, but now the music is bracketed together with a brace on the left hand side. You can see that. And we also get something new called a time signature. Music has numbers at the very beginning of each piece, and this is called your time signature. The top number means that there is a specific number of beats in a measure. The bottom number tells you what kind of note gets counted for one beat. And that can change, but we aren't worried about that right now. Right now we're going to learn 4/4. And a 4 on the bottom always means the same thing. It always means that a quarter note gets counted for one beat. So just like we were counting the half note and whole note, so the time signature is telling you there's 4 beats in a measure with the 4 on top, and the quarter note gets counted as one beat with the 4 on bottom. So just like we were counting whole notes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/4 time is telling us that there's 4 beats in a measure. So what that means is a whole note takes up a whole measure in 4/4 time. That won't always be the case, but we aren't worried about that right now. So we just think we're going to count to 4 and then start over. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. So when you're counting music, I know if you may have experienced it as a dancer and they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's just taking 2 measures and putting them together. So if you're familiar with that, musicians counting measures is the same thing. We just count it a little bit different. The song on the bottom of page 20, playing on the Grandstaff. Well, we remember what our right hand did for C position. Now your left hand, we learned left hand C position. So you put your hands in that same exact spot. Now you're also learning another new thing. See, this has a lot of new material here in lesson 4 already. You learned time signatures. You learned what the Grandstaff is, putting your left hand and right hand together. And now we're learning what is called a whole rest. A rest is intentional silence. It's planned silence in the song. And if you look at the bottom of page 20, you'll see on the 4th line up, there's a little, looks like a hole in the line going across the bass clef F line. If you're looking at the video, I'm talking right here. That's called a whole rest. And that's the same length as a whole note. So a whole note is 4 beats or 4 counts or 4 pulses long. A whole rest is 4 beats or pulses or counts of planned silence in your left hand. And this goes on at the exact same time as your right hand. You don't separate them. So now you are reading both lines at the same time as you go along. So you count this at the same time you're playing this. So the left hand is not doing anything all of this time when your right hand does. And then on the second line, your left hand does all of this while your right hand has whole rests in each measure. Now, we do have a double bar line here, but not here. So what that means is you don't stop here. Previously, all of the things and the exercises and the demonstrations that we've played have all been one line long. But now you're moving beyond that, and there is no double bar line here, so you don't stop. You keep right on going down to here with no pause, no break. But if you look at the double bar line here at the end, they have these two little dots on the bass clef and the treble clef. There's a dot in the second space and the third space in both clefs. Those are called repeat signs. And all those mean is to go back to the very beginning of the piece and play everything again. So go ahead and pause now and practice, and I will demonstrate after. Alright, hopefully you paused. So I'm going to demonstrate playing on the Grandstaff, the song at the bottom of page 20. So now we have left hand and right hand. They're not playing notes at the same time yet, but you are having time occur that needs to be accounted for in both hands at the same time. So, starting from the very beginning. And that's where you stop. We did the whole thing twice. Alright, moving along to the next song. If you look at the top of page 21, there's a song called Rock Along. Now again, the first line of music has right hand stuff, no double bar line at the end of the first line. And then the next line of music has left hand stuff, and the right hand has whole rests. And there is a repeat sign, so you have to go back to the beginning and play everything a second time. So go ahead and pause it and practice. Alright, hopefully you paused it. Now we are going to play Rock Along on the top of page 21. Look at the piece on the bottom of page 21, Mexican Hat Dance. Again, we have our time signature, 4 times. You want to always be looking at that when you start a new piece so you can be aware. We have a repeat sign at the end, which means go back and do the whole thing again. But there's a couple of new things here. One, it doesn't start with your right hand playing. It starts with your left. So your right hand has a whole set of whole rests. Then your right hand plays the second line and your left hand has the whole rests. But take a look at beat number 1, 2, 3, 4. In the first measure, there's this weird squiggly line that also happens on beat 4 in the second measure and beat 4 of the fourth measure. That's called a quarter rest. Just like on page 20, we learned that a whole rest is 4 beats long, just like a whole note. A quarter rest is 1 beat long, just like a quarter note. So in 4/4 time, we're counting to 4 and repeating over and over, and that's how we count the pulse of the music. So with the rest, that is planned silence. It's intentionally not making noise there. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I whispered the 4s there because that's where you're not going to play anything. And it is also incorrect to hold this note over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 would be written as 2 half notes, not a half note, a quarter note, and a quarter rest. So that's one thing to watch out for. Now if you look at the next line, you have a quarter rest in the first measure, a quarter rest in the second measure, but there is no quarter rest in the fourth measure like the first line does. So go ahead and pause it and practice. Alright, hopefully you've practiced. Now let's try it. Starting in the left hand, Mexican hat dance. Alright, so hopefully yours sounded like that. That concludes lesson 4. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're making some progress. If you have questions, feel free to ask me here or reach out to me and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Thank you. Page 20 and 21.